Welcome to OverSeasoned.
It's only going to take one take.
I actually kicked him out of the restaurant.
Why?
Gotta bitch to someone.
Gotta bitch to somebody, and I'm good to bitch to.
I thought you were from Spain.
Yes, I am.
Oh.
Sí soy.
Gotcha.
Soy chorizo.
Oh, no.
You've gone into Martha Stewart land.
It's good. It's just not live.
Whatever.
Okay.
It's like a scene from Cocoon. Like the sun goes down.
You don't want to get blacklisted.
You know what, Mr. President? Is this what you want?
OverSeasoned recording, Reno, Nevada.
You jump right to it.
Yeah, why not?
You're just like, you know what I mean? No thought, no nothing.
It wasn't even going to go anywhere.
Were you the kid?
You know what I mean?
Were you the kid in like, I don't know, high school that like if people were like jumping into the lake? Do you guys have creeks here? Like, would you just jump in, like not even think about it? Like I'm always like pulling my socks off. I have to like roll them
Get
up.
fancy about it?
Well, you know, because I don't want them to get all wet. I feel like you're just like a.
Who wears socks to the beach?
There's no beaches in Reno, Nevada.
No, but I mean to go to the lake or something. You know what I mean? Why are you wearing socks and rolling them up?
Because I don't want stinky feet. You're a stinky feet kind of guy?
This is you're backing me into a corner here, man. Like, no, you'd wear like flip flops or something to a water park.
Are you? But can you just jump into stuff? Are you a jump?
Do I just jump into stuff? Who was supposed to start off this podcast this time? I was, and you just like roll right into it. Totally like eating my lunch every time.
It's delicious.
So, we're in Reno, Nevada.
Reno, Nevada.
It was always, and it's Halloween on Friday, Thursday, Friday, something
Coming up
like that this week. And Halloween growing up was always Nevada Day also. So it was always kind of a very fun holiday for us growing up, because you got the day off of school, which usually doesn't happen. I think it's changed. I think they moved Nevada Day, but it was always the same. Halloween and Nevada Day were the same.
This makes
day.
So much sense to me now.
How so?
Fucking because Reno is so weird.
How long has it been since you've been
Nevada
here?
is so weird.
It's not that way.
And it only makes sense that Nevada Day is on Halloween.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
You guys, like I get off the airport here, and it's just like, what character am I gonna see in the airport just like rummaging around? And it's like every time, like I'm always afraid to like hit the corner in this town. Everywhere you look, it's just another more oddly dressed, weird, like it's okay. So that makes a lot of sense. So you must love Halloween.
Yeah, Halloween was always a very fun time growing up. Here.
I mean, if I got the day off of school from Halloween, I would love Halloween.
Yeah. But you don't love Halloween anyway?
I never loved Halloween.
Why not? It's not like a Puerto Rican holiday?
So my mom was the aloof hairdresser that on the day of Halloween, I'd be like, Mom, today's the parade, remember? And she'd say, yes. What are you going to do? Like take some time off of school? And like, well, Mom, like all the parents are coming and blah, blah, blah. She's like, what do you need, an outfit? Yeah, I need an outfit. Cut like a one out of like newspaper and like spray paint it real quick and be like, there you go, number one. And that would be it. Like, oh, I'm a football player today. So Halloween was just like never like a thing. It was just like
But you got candy. I'm sure you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you like to trick or treat.
Well, I also had a very, as a child, I had a very, traumatic experience.
With candy?
So I never really experienced Halloween as a kid, and like at first grade, I was probably 6. Okay, I was probably 6.
Yeah, but they had Halloween. You understood what it was.
They had Halloween, of course, trick or treat and the whole deal,
sure,
right? But I never actually did like the thing, like going around. Like I would just go in like the neighborhood, and so I had neighbors, the Morgans, Joey Morgan, invited me to go with his family to the thing, right? And so we went through the whole neighborhood and, house to house, and it was fun, and I'm probably dressed as something stupid, but I'm getting my candy. I don't remember. Yeah. I don't remember. It was never what I wanted it to be. I wanted to be Raphael
like
from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's who I wanted to be.
Which one did he have?
He was the red one with the size.
Yeah.
And inevitably, I'd always be like a dog. You know what I mean?
It's easy to be a kid in Halloween these days because the suits, you just get them off Amazon. You get like badass suits.
Yeah. I always wanted to be Batman too.
Not those plastic like hanging ones from the grocery store, with the
Oh, dude,
the 2D masks.
It used to be a big deal to get a Halloween outfit, and now it's you just hop on your phone, roll out of bed, and boom, boom, boom.
That's how most of your mornings go.
That's true. So they took me to this house, and I had never experienced like the intense Halloween houses. Like I didn't. The idea of putting so much effort into Halloween was completely foreign to me. And I walked into this house, and I
But
think
you
they
grew
knew.
up in the States. I don't understand. Like you didn't understand that Halloween was a thing until 7
Dude,
or 8.
it's just, my parents didn't give a shit. They didn't know.
But you were a kid in a neighborhood.
Well, I finally had a good friend, and he took me on like an actual tour. Otherwise, it was just,
you
like
had all those
townhouses.
other Koreans living in your apartment complex, and they didn't really.
No, they don't fucking know
Right.
about. Yeah,
They don't do it.
No. So I went into the neighborhood, like where they give out the big bars.
Yeah.
Like the king size bars.
Yeah.
There's like a nice little route that you can. I didn't know about this, but then there's also like, I didn't realize there was drunk parents that could really like have a lot of fun torturing children.
Oh, scaring them.
Oh, dude, this thing fucked me up. I'll never forget. I walked into a house, and I think they knew.
They walked into a house?
Well, we walked into like a haunted house.
Oh, okay.
Halloween thing,
The door
right?
is just open and
So the door opens, and there's like a little bit of smoke comes up, and then the fucking light is reverberating.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like Saving Private Ryan after a bomb goes off. It's like this shaking light. And I'm like, this is and they set me up. They
were, like,
knew that
hip
this
to
was, because all the other houses you knock on the door, trick or treat, and you don't enter. This one we entered. And I walked in, and there's a casket on the right-hand side. And there's a fucking lady, like, very creepy, like, well, doing the whole thing, right? And then before you knew it, the fucking casket popped open. A fucking thing came from the ceiling. And dude, I fucking started running. I left the house and
without your candy?
No, I didn't give a shit, dude. I was about to lose my life. I fucking ran back to the house. I didn't ask anybody what was happening. I'd never experienced that in my whole life. And
so that's a Halloween win in my book. That you actually,
they loved it.
Yeah.
They loved it. They thought it was the coolest thing ever. I didn't stop.
You just kept running.
Did you ever like feel?
It's the farthest you've ever run.
It was probably the furthest I've ever.
Yeah,
I just didn't stop.
You hung up your sneakers after that one.
That was a really traumatizing. I'll never forget it.
So
that was
of
my first
traumatizing,
experience with Freddy Krueger.
With wood.
Because Freddy came out of the fucking casket.
Oh, Freddy Krueger's in
with
the casket.
In the fucking skin and all the stuff.
Yeah.
And the hat and the you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was it. Me and Halloween, whatever.
So you wanted to talk about some of the scariest experiences you've had in restaurant working. And
Yeah.
you thought this was a good time. It's Halloween. And on following it up with this story, I can understand. You have something to base it on.
Feels, I feel like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, who's going to pop out of a thing around here? Anyway, yes. Restaurants are scary.
They can be. What was your What was your scariest experience? I guess what position were you in the restaurant when you had your scariest experience?
I've had a few scary experiences.
As like a busser, like mine all seem like they were like my younger days.
So I think the scariest experience that I've had in a well, I've had a couple, but I'll start with one that I'll never forget.
Okay.
So it was during the dark days of 2007.
Wow, you got some memory, man.
Well, you'll never forget this. So it was, I want to say it was like in the fall, because there was this similar kind of chill in the air. And you'd never know in Dallas. They have seasons there, and it does get a little crisp at times. Mm-hmm. And so...
Oh, so this is when you owned your restaurant.
So I owned a restaurant called Agave, and it was in a interesting little suburban, outskirt of Dallas.
And the Agave was a Mexican restaurant.
It was a Tex-Mex gastropub.
Tex-Mex gastropub. Okay, it's coming back to me now.
Yes.
And what made you go with that concept? Just the area?
Interestingly enough, I was like, wow, there's no tequila bars in this town.
In Texas?
And so a friend of mine that I worked with at the Capitol Grill, a couple of horrible things had happened leading up to this. They felt like the universe was talking to us up until this point, but they were actually just horrible things that were happening. For example, one night we're working in the casino together, and a guest gave me a copy of a book. And I was like, what the hell is this? And I'm like, oh, it's called The Secret. Maybe I'll read this on my way back from, my shift tonight. And, we're flipping through it. We used to ride from Atlantic City to Philadelphia. Well, The Secret's all about what you put out into the universe, the law of attraction and stuff.
You read a book?
Well, we were like, no.
You're suspect.
No, he was
reading it and relaying it to you. All right, makes more sense.
Okay. And part of it was like the law of attraction and what you ask the universe it'll bring to you. And we were like talking about restaurants. And then all of a sudden, every sign that we saw, encountered, like for example, like, guy in front of us has a Dallas Cowboys sticker on his car. It's the universe telling us we need to open this restaurant in Texas. Every fucking thing that we saw was a sign, right, from the universe. But in this case, we wanted to open a restaurant. His buddy, his best friend growing up in Dallas, told us about this space that had gone vacant because they were in the process of building it. And the guy who was putting this restaurant together stepped out on his marriage. The wife's family was the one financing the whole thing. And when they found out about the infidelity, they decided that they weren't going to invest in this restaurant anymore. And there was a 90% to completion restaurant that had never opened.
Sounds perfect.
It sounded like, yeah, there was all these signs, right? Then the first thing I did was look up Rockwall, which was the town. And it says Rockwall is the fastest growing city in the United States. And I'm like, this is it. This is the place, right? So we flew out there. There's like an AMC theater.
So you were not in Texas at all?
I was not in Texas.
Wow.
Had never set foot in Texas.
You had some friends there.
I had a friend with deep connections in Texas and all these signs from the universe that it was time to open up a Tex-Mex gastropub. So we did. And the first night of service, I knew that's when the nightmare
you're glazing over the
began.
opening. The opening, getting everything together, all that kind of stuff.
It was
smoothly
all
enough.
It was fine.
Yeah,
we had a really good crew.
How long did it take?
I'd say in about 8 weeks we opened up.
Okay.
It was pretty quick.
So it was really
liquor
close.
licenses are easy. There's a lot of things in Texas that are definitely pro-business.
Got it.
So I will say the process wasn't too bad. But we opened up and it wasn't very busy. And, there's a reason why there wasn't any farm-to-table gastropubs in Dallas. Well, specifically in Rockwall, this little suburb of Dallas. The fanciest place in town at that point was Applebee's. It was also the busiest bar in this part of the town. Everybody was done drinking by like 9:45 p.m. It was a tough place. It was a tough go. And
you were envisioning something more with more
badass
nightlife.
Yeah, with some energy. And we were in a casino up until that point.
Right.
And you take for granted how much foot traffic and action and the shows, and there's just a lot of stuff going on. When we open up this,
and people are like they're just like spending money.
Yes, they're there to spend money,
right?
Right. Sometimes it's money that they didn't want to spend, like their child's scholarship fund.
But they do it,
right? But they do it. Slots are calling
to your benefit.
So this restaurant opens. It didn't go as well as we had planned financially, and we played the game I think most restaurants play, maybe even most businesses play, which is let's not pay that bill. Let's not pay that one either because we got to make payroll. And by the way, we need beer, so we can't pay that one either. And on this specific round of Let's Not Pay That, my favorite game, we decided not to pay the sales tax to the state of Texas.
That was a monthly?
It was a monthly sales state income tax, state sales tax that had to be filed with the TABC, which was the Texas Alcohol Bureau. And you also have to pay the sales tax. So I think I got closed the night before, and let's call it a random Monday night. I closed the restaurant. I probably didn't come home till like 1:30 in the morning. And at around 9:45, 10 o'clock, I got a phone call.
The next morning.
Yeah, the next morning, I'm like, back in those old restaurant days, I probably wouldn't have like actually been out of bed till like 11, honestly. And especially in those deep depressive days when I realized that my life was going nowhere and the restaurant that I'd sunk my entire fortune into was absolutely not going to pay me back. And so, I went from...
How far into the
experience was this?
Yeah, how
this
long
was
after
probably
it opened?
month 8.
Okay.
Month 8 or 9, right? Up until then, we had never played the roulette with taxes.
Right.
This time I'm like, we pay it every month. We're not behind. No, let's skip this one for the week. Well, a week passed, and then I get a phone call in the morning, and it's Cliff, our buddy Cliff. And Cliff's like, X, we have a problem. And I'm like, well, we
add it to the list.
We own a restaurant.
Yeah.
What else could it be? Sure, what's wrong, Cliff? He's like, the comptroller's here. And
the comptroller.
The comptroller. Like the comptroller is like the tax collector.
Sure.
And
showed up to the restaurant.
And I'm envisioning like, some dude with glasses and like a golf shirt. I'm like, and
he brought the heavy.
And he's like, they're demanding that I open the safe. And I'm like,
what?
I'm like, what do you mean they're demanding that you open the safe?
You had money in the safe?
Well, yeah, we had money in the safe, but I'm like, tell them that you don't know the code. And he's like, okay. And he goes, I don't know the code. So I'm like, are they in the room with you? And he's like, dude, you don't understand. He's like, come down here. And my first reaction to come down here is definitely not.
Right.
You're telling me that there's people in the office with you and we owe taxes and you want me to come down here?
The safe.
Pff, hell no. I'm definitely not coming down. Number 1. Number 2, do not tell them the code. And I'm like, now it went from do not tell them to don't tell them the code, right? And then he's like, tells them he doesn't know the right? And then so I hear someone pretty pissed off, equivalent of like the voice you would hear at the DMV when like you hadn't filled something out properly. That kind of voice, like. And then that voice goes, take me to the register. And I'm like, and he's like, okay, I'll be right there. And I'm like, Cliff, who is, he's like, they're in here with guns. With guns.
What?
Right? So I'm like, keep me on the phone. So he walks behind the bar. So we had a big, beautiful bar. It was probably a 30-seat bar. It was a 100-seat restaurant. It was set up like a classic kind of sports bar-y thing. We had a TV on each side. It was like 3 facades, It was like half of a horseshoe, right? The bar. Big and beautiful. We had 2 registers there. And back in 2007, I'd say about 25% of people used cash. So we had about $500 or $600 in each of the registers, right? Ready to go. So
do you recall how much you owed?
We might have owed, so we were probably doing about $60,000. No, probably about $100,000 in sales a month. So we probably owed, I don't know, close to $7,000 in sales tax. maybe a little more with the liquor laws.
For
and
1
stuff.
month.
For 1 month. I didn't think that like 5 days they were going to show up. I thought it was going to be like a letter in the mail.
Right.
Whatever, right?
It is pretty shocking.
It was shocking. Well, not just shocking that they would show up so quickly, shocking that they're showing up with guns. So then I see a phone call. I see a phone call from a regular. I won't name his name. He was a funny guy. But this was a pilot from Southwest who would show up at our bar the moment we decided that, like the moment anybody came in to like start cleaning up, put the chairs down, he would just show up. He was like,
early.
Like at 9:45.
AM.
Like we opened at 11 and this motherfucker would be opening the restaurant with us with a full pint of Polar Ice vodka. And he was a pilot and he was a monster. And he used to drink half a handle. I had to buy him this because he wouldn't drink Kettle One. He said it was too expensive. I literally had a bottle. Anyway, so he's calling me. And I'm like, let's just say his name is Rick. Rick, I'm on the phone. I'm sorry. Can I call you back? And he's like, I'm at your bar and there's people with guns here. I'm like, there's people with guns. I'm like, listen, I think it's the TABC. They're here to collect their money. I'm like, do me a favor. Just, stay quiet. You know what I mean? If you say any, you could, why don't you come back later? Actually,
Yeah, how about that?
Don't hang out at the bar right now.
Don't drive away, but just walk out.
And then so he's on the phone and he goes, I don't work here, by the way. I'm like, just leave, dude. Just leave. So this all goes down. They take all the money that's in our tills.
Did you get a receipt?
Coins. The coins, everything. They got about $1,200. And then they left. And now I was like, Cliff, is the coast, can I come in? Like, are you sure? Is the coast clear? And so that was probably, we were probably had like $15,000 of checks out at that one given moment. And maybe like $3,000 in the account, like total to our names, you know what I mean? Hoping and praying for whatever credit card was about to hit that day to cover whatever miscellaneous linen invoice was about to bounce. Good old bouncy balls. So it was a very scary time.
How long after that was it that you closed up shop?
We never closed shop. See, this is the interesting thing about a restaurant is that if you're willing to live on the very edge every day, every minute, all you gotta do is switch a vendor here and there. You'll make it happen, right? So we never closed. That place outlasted a bunch of restaurants that were in. We outlasted BLT Prime.
Really?
That for me was like so BLT back in the day was like the big New York steakhouse, right? Mm-hmm. And they opened in the Galleria in Dallas. And when they opened, I'm like, man, I wish one day I hope to be like BLT. One day I hope that we can open a badass bar.
It's just funny. You would think that like Texas would be ripe ground for this steakhouse style Tex-Mex concept, but no.
Well, I think there was a couple things going on. First off, Rockwall was the fastest growing city in the country, but I didn't read underneath where it said it went from like 20,000 to 30,000
right.
people, and that was 50% growth.
Right.
They might have like changed a little bit of the line too for the town. You know what I mean? Right. So that was one. There was a lot of things that went wrong, right? But that was a scary time in my life. And I think at some point, if I do have to go to like the specialist for ulcers or whatever, most of them came.
Yeah, I can't imagine like having that kind of government official show up with guns, raiding your till. That does seem like a scare. That's a hard one to beat. I don't know if I've ever been that scared in restaurant operations.
It was really, really fucking scary. And it was one of those situations where you don't I didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up for this. Oh, I guess I did, but nobody tells you how serious it gets and how quickly.
How quickly you can circle the drain.
It's scary to think that you can bounce a payroll check. That is an incredibly scary place to be. Like, payroll's out on Friday and you're like, you know what I mean? Like, giving the people a check, like, slow down. Thank God back then you couldn't.
Direct deposit?
Yeah, direct deposit right from your phone.
Right.
God, that would have really put a wrinkle in things. But yeah, that was super scary. And then, yeah, it's always the government official people.
That scare you the most?
In Atlantic City, I also had a very scary. They had this one lady who was the person who would do the health inspections, but she was like notorious.
Oh man, you just mentioned that. I must have blocked it. Like, the health inspections were always the scariest thing. Not because we were violating anything, but they just kind of
find anything.
And well, it's not even that. They just have this demeanor, which just means like they know you're up to something. They're gonna find it. Like, what is this? I remember they made us throw away a whole tray of duck confit that was in the fat cooling, right? Because it wasn't in the fridge. It's like, that's the way you make it, right? But they made us throw away the whole tray, and we needed that for that night's service. So we're like scrambling around trying to figure out what else they were going to make us throw away. Then they make you pour bleach on it, so you don't dig it back out of the garbage or something like that. You know?
Meanwhile, like, that's the special sauce for like there's like a food lion or something. They like make like a Clorox bleach bath for the chickens and shit.
What?
Yeah. Anyway, it was on 60 Minutes. It's got to be true, right? Yeah. The health inspectors were incredibly.
You'd always like clinch up because you didn't even know what you were doing wrong. You know what I mean? You're just
So
like, what are they going to find? For what?
So we got shut down because
Which place?
Bobby Flay Steak in the Borgata Casino, which is super well funded in the whole deal, because the water coming out of the faucet would not hit 100 degrees within a minute.
Right. For the hand washing sink.
For any sink. It was like a brand new extension they added to the casino, and they went in and started running the water.
So for the dish sink, wouldn't
nothing. So yes. So I think that's the ultimate infraction, is the chemicals aren't activating in the washer because it's not hitting a certain temperature. And they shut us down, which is insane that they can shut you down.
Yeah. That's their job.
Have you not been to any? I mean, I've been to.
What kind of excuse did you come up with for that clientele that evening?
Oh, we have a PR team for that.
Yeah.
That was actually I was probably relieved. I was probably like 18 dirty martinis in the night before and like couldn't wait to go home.
Remember those days when you can stomach more than two?
Yes. They were good days. What other kind of scary things have happened to you?
I can't think of a scary thing, and I definitely remember stressful things, but not necessarily scary. Like, I feel like, the tax man coming in with a gun was probably the scariest thing that I could imagine. It's hard. That's a hard one to top.
One time I
knew you had another one.
I got another one.
I knew it.
So the lady from 4-Story Hill Farms. So in the early 2000s, all of us were enamored by the farm to table movement.
Sure.
And, Thomas Keller and good old French Laundry. That book came out. All of us were flipping through the back to see like what are the different vendors and what are the different places and what kind of pork chops are they buying, right? And we came across one of the vendors, 4-Story Hill Farm. It's in Pennsylvania. I'm like, we should serve that. We're in Pennsylvania. We're at Union Trust Steakhouse.
It was pork chops. It was a pork.
Yeah. So we had pork chops on the menu, and we wanted to use local stuff. So
how scary is this one going to get?
Dude, so I call up this lady. And so this lady's super sweet. I don't want to say sweet. She felt like she was a real person. So we called up 4-Story Hill, and this lady answers the phone. Hello, like a little bit like terse, but like like maybe has a little like I don't know. What would you?
Abrupt.
Yeah, like the lady with the I don't know the Hansel and Gretel.
She's like on a pig farm. She's just
she's on a pig farm.
Yeah,
right. She's on a pig.
Right?
Great way to put it. She lives on a pig farm. So we're a steakhouse in Philly. We would love to serve your pork. And oh, fantastic. Listen, like this is how we work. You put your orders in on Monday and I'll deliver them on Friday. And I only do one delivery a week. It comes FedEx. But we have great pork, blah, blah, blah. Here's our price sheet. We look at the price sheet. It's a little more expensive than anything else, but we're okay with it.
Thomas Keller buys the same stuff.
Thomas Keller buys it. It's got to be great, right? So so we start buying whole racks from her of the rib and the loin chops, right? So we can have a pork chop from 4-Story Hills on the menu. So I don't know what happened this week, but it was a Monday and she didn't answer the phone. I'm like, it might have been like a Columbus Day or one of these days that we're off. So we need this fucking pork. It's tight. It's on a tight schedule, considering they only deliver once a week.
Oh man, a memory came to me just in speaking about this. But proceed.
All right, we're gonna come back to it because so we're calling Monday and she won't answer. So Tuesday, listen, I forget her name. I want to say it was like Sybil.
You wrote it on the menu.
Like that, right?
The name's on the menu, so now you have to.
Well, right. I can't buy Cisco pork chop.
Right.
You can tell these were beautiful pork chops. So we call up and on Tuesday, hey, like, look, we need this order, and we were probably going through like at least 4 racks, right? So they were coming in like big orders of.
Yeah, how many chops you get out of a rack?
I want to say 12 or something like that, right?
Probably.
So
9.
So we put in the order, and then just like the earth had come together in some weird thing, and that Saturday we had a buyout, and it was let's say a wedding cocktail thing, right? So instead of the normal service where everybody comes in, like people start coming in at, let's call it 8 o'clock to do stocks and all that stuff, and the pastry department's coming in to do bread and all that, it was this one day where like everybody was in it too, because it was like whatever. And the delivery didn't come on Friday like normal. It came on Saturday because it was back a day. So FedEx shows up. Nobody's there to accept the order. The pork chops get sent back.
Oh, I thought they were going to be left in the alley.
No, worse, because then this lady found out, and she goes. So she calls me.
She found out. Well, of course she found out. They got sent back.
They got sent back on Sunday. I'm getting these calls from some random 484 Pennsylvania number. I'm like, what the fuck is? Who is this?
You got the pork lady mad.
Dude, so I answer the phone. Hello? Like, who are you?
It was Thomas Keller.
yeah, that would have been really funny. It was the lady. And she's like, my piggies. And I'm like, what?
Piggies?
Yes. She's like, my piggies died for no reason. And I'm like, what is going on here? Right? And I'm like, oh my God.
What happened?
Whatever. Yeah. All the pork got sent back. And blah, blah, blah. I'm still going to charge you. And I'm not sending you this pork anymore. And she was freaking. And I'm like I don't want to reprint the menus. I don't want to have to do all this stuff. And like, this is the best pork in the country. Like, now I got to redo all this. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. Listen, we'll pay for the pork.
Do you think it was like, I mean, it must have been shipped in dry ice or something like that.
I'm sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
and I'm like, listen.
Oh, but it got shipped back, set somewhere Sunday. Yeah, that's tough.
And yeah, and she freaked on me. And it was like an ant, you know, like you have that like grumpy ant that like, you know, you ingratiate yourself to her, but every once in a while you like move the teacup the wrong way and like you could tell like it just gets ruffled up. Like I was just trying my best to smooth it over and nothing was working.
Yeah, she was not having any of it.
And I don't know if she had like a special pig in this lot or something.
They're all special pigs. Her piggies.
I know, but I'll never forget it. My piggies. And she and like the rest of that week, I was just like trying to explain.
Did you like take a Sharpie and just like cross it off on the menu instead of reprint them all?
No,
Did you reprint them? Did you? Did you? Did you? You did
I'm
it.
pretty sure we found another farm down the road.
Right, yeah. That's like
3-story hill.
different name, but
Yeah.
still.
What happened to you with your delivery that you had such a horrible?
No, I just remember these restaurant week menus that were just such
restaurant week.
restaurant week. Leading up to it would be like all this, simmering angst for how many covers you're going to have to do, the menu, talking about it, and how are you going to get all this many covers done so quickly. And I never really understood the point of restaurant week. I guess I asked some questions at the time. This is like 2000, 2001, something like that, 2002. So it's going back a ways. But we'd charged $20.01 for a lunch menu.
What do you get for that now?
For $20.01?
Fries.
That's like 3 fucking coffees, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
maybe 2
$20.01 to be app, entree, dessert, right? And you get your choice of, we call it 2 apps, 2 entrees, or 3 and 3 and 2 desserts, or something like that, right?
Ridiculous.
You'd have people making their own lemonade, like asking for a lemon and sugar and making their own lemonade at the tables, like that kind of thing. And I was always like, let's just take some tables out of the dining room. People want this experience. Sure, give it to them, do it, right? But let's not try to pack the house to the gills every service, But apparently it did make sense financially. I don't know how. Just seemed like a lot of wear and tear on the restaurant, to like go through that and have the kitchen just like, and the front of the house just ripping through stuff. But one day there was some mix up with the order of hanger steak.
Okay.
On like the first day of restaurant week. And they ordered 40 pounds. They're like 400 pounds or something, what it was supposed to be.
So you had enough for like the first 3 tables?
Yeah, exactly. So we were frantically calling and it was supposed to be marinated and all that. So it was like,
restaurant week.
Set up the day ahead. And, hanger steak comes in like these big blocks. You have to break it down. You can't just throw it on the grill.
Out.
It's not like a airline chicken breast, right?
Yeah.
So we were calling several different vendors, getting them to come and drop it off at several points throughout the service, getting like 2 bags here, 3 bags here. Other restaurants had it on the restaurant week menu, of course. Yeah. Everyone's freaking out. I think we did like 250 covers for lunch.
You ran out of steak in 10 minutes.
And it's not
right?
like you just cook it and put it on the plate. You have to cook it, rest it, slice it. It was one of the most hellacious services I think I experienced.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those deep in the recesses of my brain.
Yeah.
That are just every time we're talking, it kind of pulls it out of me a little bit more.
Yeah.
I like remember something new, but it wasn't necessarily a scary experience, but there is that feeling of like, it's like a bad fucking dream. Like you're looking at a rail with like 40 orders of hanger steak or whatever the fuck it is. And you got 2 or 4. Like it's on the board.
What are you doing that
You're
moment?
Just scrambling, waiting, like hoping it shows up downstairs and people are calling it. It got here. They're cutting it. They're trying to cook it downstairs in pans, even though it's supposed to be grilled. Like it's just a kind of a free for all.
I remember another really scary moment.
Go for it.
So this is 2008.
What's it with the
2009.
Dates? How do you remember these dates?
Well, this is how like on the rings on a tree. You know what I mean? You're like, ooh, something happened on this one. Like this is when you like cut through your arm and you can see that there's like a boil there, like of pain and suffering.
Sure.
A year of deep Maker's Mark therapy session.
Yeah, you did kind of go through different alcohols, right?
Oh my God, yes.
So, did you have a Maker's Mark phase?
Yeah, this was this.
This was that.
This was this. So we're opening this beautiful steakhouse, Union Trust, Philadelphia. It was like a $10 million.
Was this where most of your scary experience? Would you say that?
No. Well, I went from one bad experience to another bad experience to another bad experience. So I went from agave in Texas. Dude. Yeah, I guess you're right. Maybe that's the whole. You're right.
It's how you manage these scary experiences that makes you a proper restaurant person.
It's how many cigarettes you need to get over something, right? How many cigarettes does it take for you to cope? So in this steakhouse, the reason I signed up for this place was A, they wanted to be the best steakhouse in town. It was going to be a non-chain. Two, they had this beautiful, like the old.
It was a beautiful room.
So beautiful, right?
Massive. It was the old bank, right?
It was an old reserve bank from
Huge.
the Federal Reserve.
80-foot ceilings.
Beautiful, gorgeous ceilings, fleur-de-lis on the top. It was just gorgeous. They were overspending on everything. Sam Benet. They had Reno glassware with the logos on it.
Were we in the we were in one of the lockers downstairs where we had like stacks of
everything, whatever you wanted.
Like, could have run a restaurant for 5 more years.
I think they made
could have opened a whole nother restaurant.
Smalls Wares order.
Yowza.
I mean, it was wild.
To do
right?
what were the covers? 300
3 to 500,
3 to
let's
5.
say, on like a super busy night. So of course, I went from owning my own restaurant and suffering every single cent, not making a dollar. I didn't make a dollar the whole time.
Really?
And I didn't make a dollar. I was living off of credit cards, Chase, the whole thing. That's why it's called Chase, because they fucking chase your ass. So I was like, I want to go work at a well-funded project, and I want to work at a badass place. I don't want to worry about payroll. I don't want to worry about bouncing checks, nothing. Well, this was right as Lehman Brothers and all that stuff had happened, and we're going into 2009.
That's why you know the date.
Into a really funky financial period. And so I'm all excited, and
great time to open it.
Great. Well, and so the first bit of PR we got was in the Wall Street Journal. It was like Philadelphia Steakhouse, grand openings in grim times. And I was like, I don't know if this is a good idea, right? It was just over the top. And then, so we're opening, like, let's call it on a Monday. And we had this crazy wine list. And we had this over the top.
You had a huge cellar. Like, how many bottles were in that cellar?
Well, when we had met and you had finally come down to check it out, we were finally like, let's call it a year into the suffering. Uh-huh. But the first day that we opened, like the first week, they didn't let us order any wine. Like, they're like, nobody order anything. And I'm like, what do you mean nobody order anything? They're like, you're allowed to have one order. And then one of the investors came to me and said, listen, I put $300,000 in this fucking place. So if you're going to put any of the orders through, it's my brother-in-law's. And I'm like,
wait, whose brother-in-law was?
One of the investors' brother-in-laws was a sales guy.
Oh, okay.
And they had all these, we were supposed to have $1 million in wine. And that ended up being like 105, which I could make work. But the problem was that the investor said, you're ordering from my brother. And then another investor said, listen to him, please. Get the wine from him. And then when I go to this company, they're like, sweet, we'll be there Saturday. I didn't know anything that was going on. And the consultant was supposed to handle all this stuff, right? The order comes, and it's fucking beautiful wines. Domaine Leflevre, DRC, Dominus, all these big ticket wines. And so delivery's coming in, great. I'm like, hey, we'll call her D. D, you got all this covered? Like, we only have one order. So yeah, you're fine. So then we unbox it all and organize it. And like the cheapest Napa Cabernet that we had was like $400 on the list. So we open up that Monday and are by the glass wines.
In grim times.
Dude, like it was.
What do you think? Oh, so they were just trying to make back the investments.
Yes. Everybody had their thing going on. But like we went from this incredibly grand wine list to like, that's it. That's the only order you're getting. And when we opened, dude, we were serving. Like, it would have been a great as a guest come in, but it was like.
But you didn't have anything on the lower. Like,
we had nothing low end.
$400 bottle of wine, or
so you know
nothing.
What we did?
What? By the glass?
Yeah, we're just popping whatever. You need Syrah? Cool. I guess we're drinking Gigal Côte Rôtie, like $250 bottles.
For how much would you charge for the glass?
$10.
What?
$12. Dude, because we didn't know what else. I'm like, look, I remember going up to one of the managers, like the managing partner. We don't have Pinot Noir by the glass. We have Grand Cru Burgundy. We don't have champagne. We have Dom. Like, you understand where we are. Like, we don't have anything. He's like, well, we're opening today. I'm like, I fucking know. What do you want us to do? He's like, make it work. I'm like, well, you got it. Not my money. Let's make it work. And we were just pouring all kinds of shit. So
literally losing money on every pour, substantially.
Every pour was just like, you know, like Scrooge McDuck diving into the gold pit, you know, like swimming around. We were losing hundreds of dollars per table. And so then Ronnie wanted to bring his friend in, a master sommelier, this guy named Bobby Stuckey. And so I was like, Ronnie, I'd love to have you, man. I just want you to know we haven't gotten our whole order yet. You know, because he's coming in to show off the place. And it's a brand new spot. And he's like, hey, man, let's see the wine list.
They'd like a, I mean, if you're pouring wines like that by the glass, you'd think they'd love it.
Well.
But you were trying to hold it under
Well, the thing is like, you know, hey, can I see the wine list? And I'm like, yeah. And I bring it over. And it's like, the wine list was like this. Cabernet, Mouton Rothschild, $2,000, $1,800. Dominus, Napa, $375. It was just like everything started at like, and it was like one page. It was just one page of gems. You know what I mean?
But
and
you're also
like,
pouring it at the bar.
And we're pouring it at the bar.
For $10.
And I was just like trying to hold myself together because this master som is in the, and he's very well respected and a really good dude. And like he comes in and everybody's expecting like a nice wine list with all kinds of references and where's your Italian page and where's your Portuguese page. And it was just, it was like, I don't know, like a private flight for rich people wine list. It's amazing started to me at $4 and ended at $2,000.
I've heard this story plenty of times where you invest so much time and money and labor and everything into a restaurant and months of planning. And I can't imagine what the build out must have been. Must have been like a year long.
I think it was 2.5 years.
2.5 years. And then on opening day, granted there was a major
bed.
Yeah.
It was horrible. Dude, the food was so bad. Everything about this place. It was just so bad.
Because the kitchen must have had the same kind of handcuffs.
Do you know what a lamb hodgepodge is?
No.
Dude, the opening menu was like...
Lamb hodgepodge?
Yes, it was called a lamb hodgepodge. It was like lamb consomme with random pieces of lamb in it. And people would say, what's a hodgepodge? And we were like, it's soup.
You're like, shut up, drink your Camus.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't even have Camus. We went 2 levels above Camus for your by the glass.
Fantastic.
It was wild. And it was so embarrassing. And I'll never forget just handing Bobby Stuckey a wine list that had big, beautiful, like the leather bound. It was probably 10 pounds.
With one page in it.
With one page.
That would have really terrified me as well. But, you know, at least you had expensive wines on there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's just, yeah.
Well, so we're in Reno. It's Halloween week. Where should we eat tonight? Where should we go?
What's a scary place to go?
Doesn't that be a scary place?
I feel like, look, if you wanna,
I've been here for a long time, so we're gonna have to do a little research. But there's a great Chinese food place here. What's it called, Jess? Quack's Bistro.
Quack's
Yeah.
Bistro.
It's fantastic.
All right, I'm down for that. You guys have already scared me enough into not wanting to go to Louis' Bass Corner anymore.
Yeah, we'll give it another try.
I want to go to Louis. Yeah, are you a Louis guy? You ever been to Louis? No.
Mm-hmm. Well,
It's
we'll
a
report
staple.
back. We'll have something.
Yeah, maybe we'll have some armadillo. Or no, what was the?
It's not Texas.
What is the jackalope?
Jackalope.
We'll do a little jackalope. Milanese.
Sounds great. Awesome.
Perfect.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for joining the OverSeasoned podcast.
The OverSeasoned Super Scary Halloween podcast.
Yes.
OverSeasoned podcast was brought to you by Over Easy Office, outsourced bookkeeping solution.